Another best of one here coming up. And spawning in the top right hand position of Alzheimer, the red Zerg player. Representing Team Acer, Bly. And his opponent down to the bottom left, the blue Terran. Representing MMA also, representing Acer also, it is MMA. Representing MMA also, it's Acer. If only it was that way round. Acer should represent MMA. MMA put on a incredible game up against Hyun that we just saw. Spectacular timing push with that 2-2 mech play following on from the very harassment heavy 3 Reaper Hellion Banshee play that was coming up early. It got a lot of success and Hyun could never gain that solid foothold to just produce enough to try and stop his opponent from just rolling across the map. That map though was heavy rain. This is by far a much larger map, and as a result it is entirely possible that we aren't going to see a quick timing like that. Mech on this map would be a lot harder to make work because of just the sheer rush distance in the cross spawns. Even in max zoom now, my mouse only just managed to do that across my mouse mat. It's huge, and that means mech, because it's very slow, quite immobile, would take forever to get across. But in addition to that, there is a lot of space and a lot of avenues to get surrounded on your path across, and that could allow Bly to do very successfully should MMA opt to go for a similar build that he just used against Hyun. For the moment, it's a bit of a different build. He's gone CC first, into a gas, into the racks, whereas Bly opted for the hatch first into spawning pool. Very normal stuff coming down from Bly. Bit of a risky play though coming down from MMA. Taking a CC first on Outrim seems to make sense, and I can see why a lot of players would think that. Because, hey, there's a base in your base, and it's a big map. I'm gonna be safe. Right, Madals? No, you're not safe. And what MMA is doing here in a best of one is dangerous. And unless you are MMA, and if you are MMA, you're awesome, much love, you shouldn't be doing this sort of thing. Always just still open with this wall off, because so many Zergs will just decide to go for an early pull, send some Lings over, on the hope that you haven't walled off, and you went CC first. And you know what happens then? You die. You die a painful, embarrassing death. And nothing is worse than an embarrassing death, I can assure you. But things are going good. MMA, playing against a teammate, probably feels confident that Bly, he's not going to be 8-pooling me or something like that. So, let's take that greedy advantage and get ahead. Bly, adding in the 2 gases now. No super fast third hatch or anything like that. Meanwhile, MMA, he's just like factory, reactor, Hellions. Hellions are good. Lots of open space. Let's come running and jumping around and making that work for us, because it's going to work probably quite well, getting that map control. It's essential I get that down. A couple of things actually come up here, and due to the lift timing from MMA, are allowed straight into the main base. They're not too threatening, to be honest, but they do get an incredibly important scout, and that's that the third CC has just started. Money scout there from Bly, completely reading everything that his opponent's doing. This gives a lot of power to Bly now, that he knows what's coming down. Note that the lair started straight after that scout came down, and it was quite an early lair. We're only at 6 minutes 10, and it started about 5:50. So he knows that MMA is playing somewhat risky to make this work. He's going to be going into a Blue Flame Hellion style play, almost certainly, because we've got the tech lab coming down and a second factory. They'll switch over. But again, Bly, with this very early ling into the main base of MMA, scouts. He knows that there's a tech lab there and a second factory coming, and can deduce the same as I've just done. As a result, Roach Warren comes down. Blue Flame Hellions, fantastic against drones and lings, terrible against roaches. And right on cue, MMA just starts up blue flame and goes, you've scouted me? Great. Let's see if you can defend it. Road speed and a spire coming down. This spire in a position that is highly unlikely to get scouted by a scan. But if the Hellions are able to get up into the main base, it will easily be seen. These Hellions, though, aren't much of a threat. One scan going down, they're not seeing anything important. Love this positioning of the spire. Bly, continuing on. Building his third. Saying, okay, you're trying to burn it down. But that's cool. It'll take you forever. I'm getting roaches out. Buying myself some more time. Getting roach speed. Queens now. Coming down. They're just saying, enough's enough now, Hellions. You've had your fun. Now shoot. And shoot they do. Temporarily. Until they turn. Come back. Ready to fight again. And Bly, of course, had to pull his units back. Just in case they were looping around here to come up into the main base. But with roaches now on the field, this is looking pretty safe. MMA, his third orbital command, been up for a while. He's adding in only one armory this time, so not going to go for those double mech upgrades. But in come the Hellions. They make it straight through to that main base, start roasting away at some drones, a handful of them with the blue flame kicking in, go straight towards the natural base. This is adding a lot of problems. One of the Hellions in the main gets taken out by drones. They were brave little firefighters. But the natural base things are not going so pretty. 18 workers down. Sure, all the Hellions have died, but that was a painful loss for Bly. He's down to only 47 drones compared to 53 of MMA. But he's got Mutalisks coming out, and the all-important question is when the Hellions came up, did they scout the spire? Yeah, they did. Straight away, MMA now knows that Mutalisks are incoming, and so he throws down pretty much all of the missile turrets ever. 3 at each base. He is not going to take any losses from those mutas. He's fully aware that he has just done some great damage. He's got his opponent on the back foot, so don't take a risk. Get the missile turrets down, add in a couple of Thors, and just be safe now, knowing that my third is up and I've probably got a worker lead. The Mutalisks have to come over anyway though, even though Bly is probably quite aware that his opponent will have got this information. He's committed to it and he's got to try and make something work. Whether he can or not, it's going to come a lot down to these Widow Mine hits. They're going to be fairly painful. One goes down. A dead Mutalisks. No detection. Currently across the map. More Widow Mines are about. Thors are about. Another big hit comes down on a lot of these mutas, and MMA's placement of those Widow Mines is just beautiful. Another Mutalisk dies. The Thor is in a great position to try and snipe some of this out. Doesn't manage to get another kill. But the Mutaflock is more of a muta gathering with only 5 of them at the moment. So not much damage getting done there. Bly, at about 11 minutes into this game, starts up his hive. Quite an early timing on that. Double evolution chambers only now being begun, meaning that upgrade-wise, Bly is quite behind considering MMA is about to start his 2-1 mech upgrades. That gives him a nice boost and also continues him on level pegging in terms of the upgrade speed. So there's no way, as long as MMA continues on with these upgrades, he can catch up. And another muta goes down. These Widow Mines, relentless in their aggression against these Mutalisks. It's painful to watch there. Drones, happily mining now, down to the 4th base, but MMA starting to make progress across the map. This is a very similar timing push to what we saw up against Hyun. It's actually hitting a bit earlier. But the big difference is there's more Widow Mines compared to tanks. There's also less Thors in the composition, so these mutas are not going to be as effective. The Widow Mines still deal a great amount of splash. And it's a much more mobile group. The mines a lot quicker on the ground. Obviously buying some more time, but less effective than tanks up against, say, like swarm hosts. But that's not what's going to be dealt with. There's 4 Vipers on the way. Abducts going to be key. Bly aiming to use those roaches and some great abducts / blinding clouds in order to take out this mech force. MMA though, turning around. He's taken out a lot of creep. And for the most part, Bly's going to be like, hang on, what's going on here? Oh, don't fly over the Widow Mines! Ow! Ow again. 2 Mutalisks die. 2 Widow Mines also going to die, but that is a fantastic trade for MMA. Getting that switcheroo down. Still, not too much else really to say at the moment. Just a lot of roaches being pumped out by Bly at the moment. Scans coming down consistently from MMA sees both the Vipers and the amassing group of roaches. This should signal MMA to continue this tank count skyward. Tanks very effective up against the roaches, shut them down incredibly well, even if the blinding clouds are there. As long as MMA spreads his tanks well, as he's doing currently, those blinding clouds will only affect a single tank at a time, making them incredibly ineffective. Hydrogen coming down from Bly too. He's got a lot of roaches out on the field. They're trying to be as scary as they can. A grand total of 44. MMA utilizing a sensor tower as well, just to get further information each and every way that this could be coming through. One lone widow mine could be about to get a massive hit down. Gets a fair bit of damage on these roaches, and any damage early on is always going to be very powerful for MMA. Good few tank shots coming through. The blinding clouds though already hitting their mark. 2 tanks taken down by 1 blinding cloud, always strong. The roaches are still pushing through. The sheer volume of tanks though, with that +2 mech attack upgrade, just shutting them down. And Bly has to just pull back. This is not a large enough force to engage into this massive tank line that's currently on the field. A couple of Hellbats going for some damage here. Discovered the 5th base of Bly. We're now 16 minutes 40 into this game, and a Greater Spire is coming down for Bly. I absolutely love this decision. The Greater Spire is a fantastic choice up against this very tank-heavy mech force, because it outranges the missile turrets. The Broodlings, if they attack into siege tanks, make the tanks actually attack each other, or unsiege. If they unsiege, then the roaches can start making a lot of progress. There isn't really a downside to these Broodlords, especially when the Viking count isn't that high as of yet. But MMA, realizing this vulnerability, adds in a lot more, and roaches now actually going through. Blinding clouds hitting some of the tanks, but nowhere near enough. No siege is currently down, and these roaches getting decimated by the sheer volume of Terran mech that's advancing across the map now. Bly is in full damage control mode now, adding 25 more roaches into this mix, going for a small counterattack. And the counterattack is actually a beautiful decision, because there really isn't anything to defend here. A couple of Hellbats is all that's there. But Bly, this push isn't to harass, this push isn't to be annoying. This push is to win, as far as he is concerned, and that is why he's going so heavily for it. A couple of tanks, 5 up on the high ground. That is a shed load of tank production. Meanwhile, Bly attempting to shut down this play, pushed in with the roaches, actually managing to take out a fair few tanks there, buying himself a bit more time. The counterattack pretty much shut out, as the tanks nearly outnumber the roach count. Always looking good for a Terran player when that occurs. 5th base has been taken down by MMA. Bly back to 4 bases. MMA also up on 4 bases, with a planetary fortress guarding his 4th. Approaching the 20-minute mark, no sign of any Broodlords yet, and that's because of how many Vikings are currently on the field. The Viking count up to 11, and to be honest, Bly cannot get out a sizable number of Corruptors and Broodlords due to a low gas count to be able to contend with that. So where does Bly go from here? He's adding in a couple of Hydralisks. They're not actually a terrible choice. They've got great damage output, and also because they aren't armoured, don't get shredded by the tanks too fast. As long as the roaches are at the front to soak up the damage, those Hydras can dish out a lot of pain very quickly. And that is predominantly what Bly is attempting to go for. This group of Vikings discovering the base, gonna land, and this is a nice use of these Vikings, specifically when there's not too much else there, but Bly managing to intercept the retreat of MMA, but was it a good decision to do so? The tanks siege up, crush that army, and a Hellbat has found Bly's attempt to take a base to the bottom right. The Vikings all landed up now with the +2 attack. They actually did a fair bit of damage. 14 damage per second up against this hatchery per Viking. Shreds it pretty fast. And this, as I mentioned, is just a beautiful use of Vikings when there isn't any air. You still make use of them. Use them as a little hit squad to harass, to try and take down bases if and wherever you can. Snipe off overlords. It's just consistently good use from Bly. From MMA. Bly, though, is doing a fantastic job staying in this game. MMA is certainly getting a fair lead, especially as he's just using these Vikings head up against hatcheries, ignoring static defense, dealing as much damage as he can. Bly only on 3 bases, but remember his main base, mind out, natural base getting very low. The Hydras seem to have grown tired of this Viking harassment. Take out all but one. Always leave one unit to go back home. Tell the story of the 100 Hydralisks that ruined the day. Another nice little hit from that Widow Mine comes down. These Widow Mines just scattered across the map really are being the silent heroes of the game for MMA. This one, for example, 7 kills. Allowing MMA just to keep that very pretty 5,000 additional resources he's got thanks to not losing as many as Bly. Bly, attempting to expand wherever he can, has secured this bottom right base, despite it being discovered by a Hellbat earlier on. Bly's never actually gone over, MMA's never actually gone over to try and take it down. Worryingly though, the Raven count rapidly rising, and Ravens and their Seeker missiles are devastating late game. They really are the core component to late game Terran. And it's scary. PDDs plus Seeker missiles means that you can basically trade energy for units risk-free for the most part. Not something that you want to be contending up against. Couple of Hellbats discovering yet another expansion of Bly, who's frantically taking as many bases on the map as possible. But really, it's nothing in comparison to what MMA is doing. 5 command centers being constructed simultaneously, in addition to the 6 orbital commands and 2 planetary fortresses already in his possession. All cancelled though, as in comes an attack force from Bly. He's focusing this planetary fortress. A lot of DPS here. Will be able to take it down, but also now has to contend with some Seeker missiles and also those tanks. Quite a few units get taken out. Meanwhile, bottom right hand base dies for Bly. Seeker missiles still aiming to get some more damage down on those Vipers. But the Vipers escaping, ready to bank up some more energy for a rainy day. The 6th base from Bly able to survive. Meanwhile, MMA knocked back on to just 4. These additional orbit commands are going to play quite an important role. The mule is of course critical as the game goes on to allow MMA to start reducing his SCV count in order to maximize the free supply for army. 26 minutes into this game and we've still got constant action coming down from both of these two players. Overall though, from resources lost, MMA has got both a better economy and lost less resources. So as the game goes on, theoretically things should start to favour him. But as anyone who watches much StarCraft will know, the theoretical and the actual can quite often be quite different. A Thor and a Viking get pulled there, but a lot of units go down in the process. However, grabbing the Ravens is a very nice choice. Seeker missile attempting to be used, but out of range, the Vipers go. Top left-hand base discovered now by a small pack of tanks. Taken out efficiently. MMA on the 3-3 upgrades compared to the 2-2 missile attack from Bly with the +1 melee attack and +1 air armor. So an upgrade lead firmly there for MMA. However, a massive tech switch is occurring. 28 Corruptors coming through. This is about to become a lot of Broodlords for Bly. He is a little bit supply capped at the moment though, so needs to lose the Roaches if he's going to make this work. The important thing though is losing those Roaches in the most cost-effective way possible. As we approach the 30-minute mark of this game, both players frantically attempting to expand as many places as possible, while denying their opponent's ability to expand. That's the primary goal of MMA, and it has been for quite a while. He's preventing this top left base coming up, the bottom right bases just getting taken out by a lone tank. And that's all you need. One tank, there's nothing to defend, is more than adequate at taking down a constructing hatchery. Few roaches discovered there, but there's a push up from the top with a small hit group of hydralisks. The Vipers as well, getting a few nice abducts onto those Ravens, knocking the Raven count down to only 6 for MMA. But Bly about to lose another hatchery as tanks moving up. Only 2 of them attacking for the time being. MMA adjusting that though. Bottom right hand base also going to get taken down by MMA. Bly left with only really 2.5 mining bases now. These 2 which don't have minerals mining, and his 3rd which is very, very low. Pretty much mined out. Another one of those bases now getting destroyed by Bly, and there isn't much that Bly can actually do about this. MMA is just slowly tightening the stranglehold. However, this is a lot of Broodlords. That is a lot of Corruptors. There's actually 11 Corruptors up against 14 Vikings. But there's those 8 Hydras joining in the fight. It's gonna be close, whichever way this goes. The Ravens are such a threat. If Seeker missiles lock onto Broodlords, it's insanely hard for them to get out of way in time. Because the Seeker missiles lock on relatively slowly, but Broodlords move even slower. The scans know precisely what's coming. Additional Vikings start to be produced. What is this game going to come to? We're past the 30-minute mark now, and things are still so tense. Small group of Hydras and a couple of roaches to tank up damage, destroying these aggressive tanks. One allowed to live momentarily. Gets a few more shots off, but will not be successful in killing the hatchery. But this all buys time. It prevents Bly from moving across the map, allowing more Vikings to come through, 8 produced at a time. And the Corruptor count's still only at 11. This could be the battle that decides the game. Instantly those Vikings come in, snipe down 1, snipe down 2 of those Broodlords. The PDDs to soak up damage from the Corruptors. The Seeker missiles coming through as well. They do connect. A lot of damage on its way. Another big Seeker missile hits straight into the middle of all of those Broodlords and all of those Corruptors. There are still so many more Ravens, the PDDs coming down, the Seeker missiles coming down, the Corruptors all but dead. None survive, allowing these Broodlords to just get annihilated by a monumentally large amount of Vikings. And with this, Bly is suffering potentially game-ending losses. He's down to only 102 supply compared to 198 of his opponent. Attempting to resupply on Ultralisks, having forced MMA to commit so much of his active supply to Vikings, maybe this will be a chance for him. But Ultras, they take 55 seconds to produce, and that can seem like an eternity when a Terran player is making smooth progress across the map. Exactly which way Terran's going to go, you never know. But what you can be certain of is that he's coming with force. MMA crushing through this 3rd base now, lifting those Vikings to start taking out the Vipers, taking out all of the Overlords. Not that it matters though, the army supply says it all. 128 to 44. Bly has put up a magnificent fight this game. Still trying to the bitter end, but knows there's nothing he can do. His teammate MMA advances forward into the quarterfinals of Go for SC2 Monday with a devastatingly effective mech play yet again.